Hey everyone, I'm your host, Robbie Strazynski. Thank you so much for joining us on episode number 83 of CardsChat, the friendliest poker podcast in town. Today's guest is Kyna England, a poker power instructor from Evanston, Illinois. Kyna won the Mid-States Poker Tour Player of the Year title for 2021 and has close to $800,000 in lifetime tournament winnings. She's also was nominated for the Global Poker Award 2021 Breakout Player of the Year. And on today's show, we're going to get to know her a little better. Kyna, welcome to the CardsChat Podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Glad to see you. And I mentioned you're from Evanston, Illinois, but that's not where you're coming to us from. You're in Las Vegas, yeah?
Yeah, I'm from Northbrook, Illinois, is where I grew up. And I probably lived in Evanston when I started playing poker. I lived in different parts of the city, and now I live in Las Vegas for a little bit. So
yeah, we'll definitely ask you about Las Vegas. It's interesting you said a little bit. I got a question about this city.
For now.
There you go. Well, see, I know, and I mentioned to you just before we started, I've listened to a couple of the other interviews that you've done recently. You've told your poker origin story. So folks, if you can go ahead and, Google Kyna's name and you can hear those podcasts. So that's the origin story, but I kind of want to just dive right in there. You had mentioned you started playing poker in college and you first started with bar poker, right? So I know a lot of people get started that way, and it can be kind of like a different game almost like playing for play money online, when there's no real money at stake. When you transition from bar poker to actual tournament poker in a larger venue, was there anything kind of surprising or difficult or challenging for you?
I'm going to be honest. It was such a long time ago. I can't really remember. I played in college. I played a lot of the bar poker games just because that's where they were there and they were really fun. And I was telling the story at the table the other day. I started playing when I was 19. And so I actually had to at one point find a fake ID so I could go in and play bar poker. But just to be there to play the bar poker. And a few times I got kicked out anyway. They're like, Kyna, come on. We know, just get out. And it's funny. I was like, I never would drink, right? Because don't break the law when you're breaking the law. But I like the social aspect. I like the logical part of it. I was majoring in math and probability at the time. So we had a few cash games too at our house that we would host, small time, mixed games a little bit. And that's kind of where I learned. But when I moved back to Chicago from Colorado, I didn't really play for a while. And it wasn't until I went to Las Vegas for a work trip where I played a little bit. And yeah, I don't really remember. I feel like people probably had to tell me the rules and stuff, and I had to kind of learn as I went. But again, that would have been, at least 5 years, 6 years ago now, probably.
Right.
So,
And
yeah.
you had that lengthy breaking up. Like you said, you clearly had enough exposure to the game. You'd played a lot. And I guess, I looked at your Hendon Mob and, your first cash dates back to November 2018. And that's, what's Hendon Mob is tournament results. Like you said, you played a whole bunch of cash games. What made you decide, at that point in your life, I'm going to jump into a few tournaments? What was the appeal there for you?
I thought a buddy of mine from where I worked, was telling me about some stuff and just kind of letting me know events that were happening. I don't know. I think just tournaments are more of a game to me. I wanted to play a game, rather than just sitting down and playing cash. I still was unfamiliar with it. When I learned in Colorado and I played cash, it was only limit, so I was still kind of getting used to the whole no limit thing. And even now I don't play a lot of cash. People ask me that all the time. And I do sometimes with my buddies and some, when I'm home, private games and stuff like that. But I don't really enjoy going to the casino and sitting there for an unknown amount of time, grinding cash. It's more, I personally, it's weird. I'm not patient enough, surprisingly, where I feel like a lot of people will say in tournaments, you have to be patient, but tournaments are more of a structured game, so that's just why I enjoy it more. I like to win, to win the overall. And I think it's just a different strategy. It just clicks more with me for some reason. But I do enjoy still the camaraderie, sitting at the table, talking, having a good time. competitive side of it. I enjoy that. So I do it every once in a while for fun.
For sure. Competitiveness, the social aspect, that resonates with so many of us, myself included. I've been playing for good 30 years since I'm 8 years old, 30 plus years. But we also know, as many people as play the game, not all of us are able to find success. And you did pretty quickly. Well, what do you think was, instrumental in that success and you starting to run deep and record results in those tournaments?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it happened pretty quickly, right? But there was a lot of working going on in between. I did work a full-time job, and then I left my job and tried for a year, and it just didn't really work out. I wasn't, giving it enough effort, probably. I was trying to study a little bit. But then during the pandemic, when we couldn't play anymore, I still enjoyed playing. So I kind of took some time to adapt and try and get better and learn online a little bit more. And I think it just transitioned into the live play. And all I did during quarantine pretty much was study. And then I started teaching for Poker Power too. And when you get asked questions by women who don't know anything about poker, basically, I don't want to give them misinformation. I want to make sure that I'm correct about what I'm saying. So,
Sure.
I put in a lot of work on that end to just better myself and make sure I had a full understanding of the spots I was being asked about. And just played with friends a lot too. We Zoomed almost every night and played.
Wow.
Just because what else was there to do, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So it was just really fun. And I had known a lot of people, and just I think the first big tournament, after quarantine was going back to Iowa, and it was just huge, and it was everybody from the Midwest. And I don't know, I just started to play more, travel a little bit, and hit the tournaments and got some success there, I guess. I don't know how else to describe
Awesome.
it.
Awesome. Well, you obviously, being in the lab and studying, that it's nice that it bore fruit. Doesn't always have to be the case, but clearly you're a good student. You learn well. I know you've mentioned elsewhere that one of the things you enjoy learning from and studying from is vlogs. That's obviously pretty cool. A lot of us enjoy, hundreds of thousands of views on the top vloggers. What is it about vlogs that you find intriguing as far as the learning aspect, and who are some of your favorites?
I during quarantine, I watched every single one of Brad Owen's vlogs. I did.
Okay,
yeah. I thought it was just the way that he lays out hands and the explanation behind it was really thoughtful, and not just because you're supposed to, there was always an explanation why. And I come from a background of corporate education strategy where I was fixing inefficiencies with training. And one thing that I always focused on was why do we need to do this? And that's just an important aspect of education, I think. So I really, really enjoyed his vlog, and, analyzing spots and comparing them to my spots, or wondering maybe why they did something differently. But he always explained it really well. I also just like Ryan Paulo's vlog. That was really fun. It gets you kind of juiced and ready. It gets you excited to play, excited to gamble a little bit. And so I watched a lot of those things, some of the streams, some of the, that were old. And, I watched every single episode of The Big Game too.
Oh, nice.
That.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I saw Nadia, when I came back, to the coins tournament. It was really funny. I ran into her in the hall, and I was I watched all of your show. It was so great. She probably thought I was a crazy person because it's from 11 years ago or something, but I really enjoyed that, watching all those, even though it's a different animal, the tournaments. I learned a lot.
That's all. So I guess with Ryan's vlog, you're watching with a bucket of popcorn, and Brad's vlog, you got a pen and paper. Yeah.
Right, something like that. Yeah.
Very cool. And of course, we mentioned Brad Owen, the newest actually WPT ambassador. Congrats to him. He was episode number 76, folks. After this one, if you haven't listened to that one, that's a great fun listen to. Episode number 76 here on the CardsChat Podcast. Kyna, we mentioned that you're coming to us from Las Vegas. I told you, we would dive a little bit deeper into that. I know you were super excited to do that. How long has it been that you've been living there?
I got out here in about December officially.
Okay. It's 4 months.
I had planned to do it a lot earlier though. Actually back in 2020, I wasn't working, I didn't have a job. I kind of thought I just wanted to change from Chicago because I was just kind of over it. I lived there most of my life, I wanted to just venture out west and check it out. I have a little bit of family out here too. So I had planned on doing it then, but it didn't really work out. And I ended up getting another full-time job and like, stayed at home a little bit. And then it just started to work out that maybe I should just give it a go, because if I don't do it now, I won't see if I like it. And this is, like I say, for a little bit, because this is just like a tester year for me. And I'm actually on Friday going back to the Midwest for a few weeks to spend some time with people there and hit some of those stops over there. So, and I am just like, I've figured out I am a little bit of a travel bug. I like to just like jump around and go to different places and play with different people. So I don't think it really matters where I live, as long as I'm still able to do that.
Right.
So for right now, it's convenient, and I'm enjoying the weather, and I'm enjoying, exploring Las Vegas a little bit more off the strip, which I
Nice.
never really did too much before. So
Right.
Yeah, it's been great.
So it's interesting you say it's a tester year, not necessarily from a poker standpoint, but just from like a life standpoint, you're saying?
Yeah, I think more of a life standpoint,
Wow.
like just see where I fit in, see what I enjoy. I'm a little worried about the summer, I'm not gonna lie, but if I can make it through and things still seem positive. I love the mountains. I love waking up, like sitting out in the sun every day, going for walks, going hiking when I can get out that way. So yeah, just kind of feeling it out a little bit, seeing where
For
I want to
sure.
end up.
Yeah, for the summer, that's why everyone's always, holed up at the WSOP, nice indoors in the air conditioning. So I think you'll be
Right.
probably
Yeah.
just fine. So
Good.
any highlights thus far, 4.5 months in, I guess, anything that stands out as like, hey, this was really cool?
I really do enjoy getting out to like Red Rock and Mount Charleston. I haven't gone too many times because I'm more on like the south end of Vegas, and so it's a little
Okay.
far, but I really do like getting up there. It's a lot cooler up there too when you go farther north in the mountains.
Yep.
I was over Mount Charleston the other day, and there was like people still skiing,
Oh,
and there
wow.
was snow everywhere. I was like sinking into the snow in my hiking boots. It was kind of crazy. So yeah, I really enjoyed that part of being out here. And just like, again, I've got a little balcony here in my place. Just sometimes, when I'm feeling blue, I can just sit out there in the sun, and that just makes you feel better.
Yeah, that's something about that city always makes me feel pretty good too. That's when I come and visit. Well,
Yeah.
obviously, one of the nice benefits of living there, especially for a tournament player, the world is your oyster. You've got tournaments, every single day, numerous ones at multiple different properties. I imagine you find yourself playing just a wee bit more often than back in Illinois.
Yeah, well, when I first moved here in January, I was playing a lot, but I don't know. I didn't want to get myself burned out. It is quite an effort to sit there all day long. As people know, I see a lot of the same people all the time, the different properties. So I do like to mix it up again and play different places and different stakes, right? Like, we don't need to just be playing 1Ks all the time. So I like to even just play. The other day with a friend, I played the $60 South Point tournament, and that was
There you
just a
go.
great
Very
time,
popular.
because for me, again, poker is just, it has to be fun. If it's not fun, like what's the point? And when I just play all day, every day, and it doesn't go my way, that's not always fun. And so I have to mix it up and do something that makes it fun again. And so I try and do that. I'm a really big fan of South Point, though. I like their poker room. The poker room manager is great. I was just at the Lips event. They ran that pretty flawlessly. The food is great there, and the alcohol is cheaper. I mean, if you find yourself having to buy it.
Awesome. Well, that's interesting to hear what the parameters are for a good poker room for you. Any other shout outs to any local Vegas rooms for you?
The win is always a great time, obviously. I was there on Sunday. I played the 400, and I had a little bit too much fun on my table of test. And Ross, the floor guy, was nice and giving me some polite warnings and stuff. Yeah, I tend to be a little loud when I'm having a good time, and I apologize to anybody that doesn't appreciate that. But they always just run such a great game. It's a great room. All the staff is just on point. The waitresses are great. So yeah, I think that seems like it's everybody's favorite. And I like to venture over to the Aria every once in a while too, when I want to play cash. If I feel like playing cash, I'll play over there a little bit. And I think if everybody hasn't been to Resorts World yet, go over there, because that place is also phenomenal. It's like beautiful. The food is really great. Poker room, again, run really well. And the people that play over there are always really nice.
Confirmed. And I have to mention, since you brought it, I didn't bring it up, but I have to mention a certain very handsome CardsChat podcast host will be running his mixed game festival there in the beginning of June 12th to 16th. Had to get the little plug. And of course, Kyna, you're welcome to come when you're not chasing some WSOP bracelets.
I'll
Great
definitely try
place.
and head over there. Yeah.
Great place, Resorts World. Well, that's the interesting thing. Like you said, with all of that poker around, you mentioned what it is that you love about tournaments more. And then sometimes you feel like, playing cash. Is there something like, is it difficult to resist that temptation? I'm kind of wondering, because it's literally always there. And I'm sure beyond just life friends, you got a lot of poker friends and everyone's always playing. Is it tough to sometimes just stay away from the poker room and stare out at those mountains?
But with the tournaments, I try and set a little bit more of a schedule. Like I know in
Mm,
advance for the week, like what I'm going to play, like whether it's like online or in person. Not to say I wouldn't just go ahead and jump in like something smaller, like an Orleans tournament or South Point tournament, because that would just be fun and social for me. But
right.
yeah, I'm not just like I shall go play a 1K today. Like so I try and like plan it out a little bit better and like make a little bit more of a schedule for myself now, trying to be a little bit more serious before the series. I bet we all are, right? Like trying
Yep.
to study a little bit more and talking to people about hands and trying to get myself in a little better shape too. I want to be able to have stamina to make it all day and sit there and stay focused. So, trying to like set schedules for myself during the week is always a good thing. And knowing what I have to get done that week and knowing what I'm intending to play helps me get ahead of it and stay a little bit more organized.
For sure. And I'm happy you mentioned that because, a lot of us recreational folks out there, man, what we wouldn't give. It sounds so great. You just sit and play poker all day, every day. Like that just sounds amazing. But it's important to get that reminder from a professional of like, you know what? It takes a leather ass to do that. It's not so simple to sit and, to sit is great, but you got to be on your A game. And, especially a tournament, it's a minefield you got to navigate. It's important to have that mental fortitude. We got to talk obviously about the big score. When you
Yeah.
the $450,000 at the WPT Venetian Deep Stack event. I mean, that's life-changing money. You're talking, very relatable, like basically all of us out there who aren't professional poker players. You had a regular job, clocking in and out every single day. All of a sudden, this gigantic windfall, an earned windfall, 450K, that's life-changing money. You know, did you do anything special to celebrate that type of a win?
I traveled a lot, so I did a lot of stops that I normally wouldn't do. I enjoyed, my time going different places. I did, when I moved here, I had to buy all new furniture and stuff like that. I took my nieces and nephews out to Dave and Buster's.
I love it.
Like I'm
That's great.
more about experiencing stuff than like buying possessions,
Yes.
and it let me play a little bit more like I wanted to, jump in some tournaments. I never really played main events for the WSOPC. When they came to the Horseshoe, that was my stop. And I always would try a satellite. And one time I got one and I got to play it. And that was a really big deal for me. So the fact that I have a little bit more cushion, I can play those kind of tournaments when I want to. That's nice for me too, to experience and feel like that's, moving up a little bit in success. And talk about like not plan too. It is funny that I say like I try and plan out my tournaments in advance, but I did not plan on playing that 5K. It was like a funny night before discussion with a buddy of mine where we actually traded places, and he's like, you should go play the 5K and I'll play the Win 1600.
Oh,
And it was just very spontaneous and jumped into a 5K.
as
So,
as the meme goes, you chose wisely. Seems like you
I
did
guess.
you
Yeah.
did just fine. I'm curious, and this is, a question I don't know if I'll ever be able to answer for myself because I don't have any Hendon Mob results, but it's because I don't play tournaments that often. But just curious, all of a sudden you have, just like the marquee win of your career. I'm kind of wondering, like, does that make smaller results, let's say, I don't know, yeah, a five-figure cash or something like that, maybe a little bit less meaningful, or is that just something I'm projecting? I don't know.
No, it does not. I just had like a 5-figure cash over at the Win. Like I said, we chat, and it
Yeah,
was extremely exciting. Okay. Cause like we
nice.
do this a lot. And so like, I think all of the wins should be celebrated. Some of them are a little more disappointing though. Right. Like, but I think every little thing, has to be a little bit exciting, has to be sort of like, okay, we sort of succeeded, in something. So no, I'm still like chasing those. I would like to have some more 5-figure cashes on my hand and mouth for sure. Obviously now it's trying to get to the million or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
don't know. But yeah, no, I think I try and celebrate a win, right? Like like maybe not if I've fired a bunch of times and it's very disappointing, like I can get that, but it's better than not cashing. I try and talk myself out of that. That's one thing I really, really work on is like my mental game. And I think I think I'm just going to put it out there and say, as a woman, it's a little harder. We've got all these scattered thoughts. I'm a little, more emotional sometimes and can take it to heart a little bit. And maybe that's just me. But I feel like I have to put a lot of work in to keep my head straight and keep going at this, so I do. And so you have to look for the good win, the small wins too. And after I won the MSPT, I went and played, whereas the very next cash on my hand and mod is going to be like a fourth place at the Orleans for $900. And let me tell you, that was a great time and very exciting also. And I met some great people and had so much fun. So that was, I'm not going to say as exciting, but it was still pretty exciting and fun. And so
I love that positive attitude. No, truly, I'm not just saying that. I think that's just really great to, still have that same joy, whenever it is that you're playing and whatever sort of success you may, see from each tournament, regardless of the size of the result. I think that's great. It's funny, you mentioned this mental game that actually dovetails, perfectly into the next question I've got for you. You've talked about spending time and attention working on your mental game. And obviously it's something that's really important, especially when, you're doing this for a living as a professional. Any sort of, tips or advice you could give or resources that have worked for you that you think could work for someone who, let's call them a serious recreational player, someone who wants to take the game seriously and win, not necessarily a professional, but still thinks, I'm doing all the lab work and studying my charts and all that stuff, but how do I work on my mental game? What worked for you?
Geez, I think it's going to be unique to everybody, right? So what I say works for me is not necessarily going to work for you, or you're not necessarily going to think too highly of it, right? But we teach in Poker Power, we teach a lesson on tilt and mental game, and I really like the different aspects of that lesson. So ladies out there, if you haven't checked it out yet, check that out. It's a good lesson. But for me, what I give myself a time limit usually, and sometimes depending on how big of a, if it's a punt or it's an unlucky thing, I try and get over it a little quicker. But like in game, I say, okay, I'm gonna be angry for 30 seconds. And if somebody addresses me during that 30 seconds, I'd say, listen, I'm allowed to be upset for 30 seconds. Don't talk to me, And so that works for me though. Like if you talk to me during that 30 seconds of my horrible loss, like you're going to get snapped at. And I'm sorry. Again, everybody out there, I'm sorry. But I try to keep it to that. And then I usually get over it. Now, like after a game, when we taking the big losses in and processing it, again, it helps to think about the times that it didn't happen, right? Or learn from it. And I have a buddy that he's probably going to be like, no, her mental game is terrible, because like every time I need to get it out, I like text or call him and I get it out, right? Like, and that just is what works for me, is if I say it and I have somebody like, talk it out with me a little bit and be like, okay, yeah, that was a bit of a punt. Why did we do that? Let's talk about it and fix it for next time. Or like, kind of calm down. That was just unlucky. Of course, like sometimes jacks are going to beat aces and that just happens, and then it helps me. It just does. And so I shout out to him. I appreciate that. Shout out to all of my friends that do that for me. And it just helps me get over it a little faster. Now, I don't know if that's a flaw in a mental game, then that is, but a support system is something I need. I like to be around people, and I like to talk stuff out with people. And I do the same for my friends too. If they need to get it out, let's get it out. We'll try and rationalize it and we'll try and make you feel better. But if you want to just sit there and be upset and disappointed for a little bit, go ahead. And then move on later, it's just poker.
I wouldn't call that a leak at all. Like what's good for you, and if it works, and if it ain't broke, why fix it? I think that's wonderful.
Right,
yeah. And I also, I couldn't help but notice that's such a great sort of instructional way that you answered that question. You can hear that sort of teaching background, and of course what you do with Poker Power. I was just like, maybe it doesn't work for you, but it's like you're given a lesson through your answer. I think that's wonderful. You said like surrounding yourself with like the right people that work for you, and you can tell a lot about a person, of course, by the people who they surround themselves with. What are the sort of qualities you look for in I guess poker friends and friends in general?
mean, my really good friends, we've kind of always been there for each other. And it started through quarantine. We were kind of a little circle where we knew each other a little bit, but then we'd Zoom all the time and just got closer. We traveled together sometimes. I like split rooms with some of them. I go visit some of them in different states and stay with them. So yeah, like, I mean, my core group of friends is, kind of small, but then there's a lot of people that I also just consider my good, my friends, like my poker friends and my, real life friends and everything. And, my best friend in the world is got 4 kids and she doesn't know a lick about poker. Sometimes, if I'm in it, when I had the big events, they were following the links and they didn't know, but she was like reading them out loud to the kids and everything. And they were getting excited anyway.
If your
But
name's
she's
on
still
top, it's got to be a good thing, right? Whatever, however you play, right?
she's just there for me too and listens if I need, just somebody to talk to at some point in time. So, and she'll pretend like she understands the poker sometimes, or that was more like earlier when I was like trying to, study more and like, didn't really have a lot of people to talk to. I'd try and talk to her and she wouldn't understand, but she would let me talk to her and get it out. So I really do appreciate that. And I don't know. I think people like that are kind. I think that's really, and funny, try to be funny, but kind and understanding. And all of my friends are.
Nice. And how about from a poker standpoint? Like, what makes a good, poker buddy with whom to discuss hands, break things down? How do you evaluate that for yourself?
I mean, somebody that can like really think about different perspectives and provide things that you wouldn't necessarily think about, like not just always agreeing or just not always disagreeing, like just again digging into why and like, oh well, when we do this, like we're folding out this, or are we getting value, or like, how many times should we be doing this kind of stuff. So just different perspectives. And I have a lot of different people that I sometimes run hands and stuff by just to get, or if I have a spot that I'm not sure of, if I need like more of a technical answer, I reach out to one friend, or if I need more of a like logical answer, I reach out to another friend, or just, differing opinions are always good to have too. So
Nice.
yeah, I think a lot of my poker friends have a lot of different opinions and different viewpoints, and that's really helpful too. Like watching different vlogs, you're getting different perspectives and learning why other people do things and why other people think certain ways too.
Right. Well, we know in poker it's important to change gears, of course. So we'll focus a little bit now on the MSPT. We mentioned, of course, you're the 2021 MSPT Player of the Year. What did it mean to you to achieve that?
Man, I don't even know. It was kind of such a crazy day. Like, I feel like it didn't hit me until later because we were at the Venetian, like sweating Taylor Howard like very hard. And like, I wasn't anti-sweating him. He's such a nice guy, but I could see him like the entire time. And, Sarah, my friend Sarah was in the tournament too, and she's sending me updates. And it was an exciting thing. And when he was out, I was like, oh, I won, like not like a bell didn't ring. They didn't make an announcement or anything, which I feel like maybe they should have at the Venetian, but no, it was great. Yeah. It just like kind of something from the beginning, like when I had the score in Riverside, that kind of put me up at top, and I didn't really know, like, I didn't really realize it or anything. And then we went to Sikwan and I got something like 15th place. And then my buddy's like, oh, you might be pretty high up. Maybe we should go play some more of these, And so we did. I went to Colorado, I went to South Dakota, and just kind of started playing all the different MSPTs when they were around, if I could. And then, yeah, I had kind of given up because one guy's side church was really pretty far ahead. But Sarah, my best friend Sarah, again, was like, let's go to Minnesota. I'm gonna go. It's a quick flight. And I'm like, okay, let's go. Might as well try and see what happens. And good thing we did, I guess.
For sure. Also, it is clearly something you actively chase, and the way you described it, can understand that it is truly meaningful. Like, oh wow, I guess I won. That's pretty cool. Did it have any added meaning that you happen to be the first woman with such an accolade, MSPT Player of the Year?
I guess so. Yeah, I did. I think it's pretty cool. Like, I mean, obviously I'm getting a little bit more like notoriety because of it. But it's still just, I think for anybody, a big accomplishment that anybody should celebrate if they get it. And I am proud to be teaching and have that title, and like know that the people that I teach, if they find that out about me, they know that, okay, maybe I know what I'm talking about a little bit, So yeah, I don't know though. It's I don't think it meant more to me being the first woman, it was just a thing, a great thing to have happened. And so, yeah, it's cool. I mean,
Good.
it's not something it's not an easy thing, right? Like it's probably not ever going to happen again. So yeah.
Oh, I don't know. No, don't say that about the MSPT Player of the Year. I want to see it back to back.
I mean, it's not an easy thing, right? Like how many Player of the Years are there out there on different
Right.
things? So but yeah, I know people are like, why aren't you playing all the MSPTs this year? I'm like, oh, I'll be at some of them.
Hopefully it's a springboard for even better things to come, I hope so.
Yeah.
You said, truth be told, yeah, it is true, because you're a woman, so by definition, almost you get a little bit more than, perhaps a male MSPT winner would have got attention-wise for it. I think it's a genuinely good thing, but, the fact of the matter why that happens is because everyone knows the percentages speak for themselves. Women are underrepresented at the table. So it is, it's by definition, as an interview, you ask a little bit more female-oriented questions. I am wondering, have you encountered any particular difficulties or challenges, being among the minority of players at the table?
I used to. I have my stories, about just guys that just want to tell you how good they are at poker and make sure that that they're better than you. And I can still sometimes point out when somebody just, I mean, no offense to everybody, but there are men out there that do not like to lose to women. And sometimes it's easy to identify that, but it doesn't happen as often anymore. But I do still hear stories from women that like break my heart. Because they get picked on at the poker table. Maybe a guy doesn't like the way that she played and berates her. And we just, in general, I've seen people do that, for other people. But for women, it's like, maybe the lady's sitting there quietly and maybe she just made a silly play. You don't need to berate her about that. I had a lady come up to me the other day and ask me about, do men tell you how to play at the table? I'm like, they better not, So I said this in another interview is like, sometimes I might stick up for myself a little harder just for the women that won't, just because you say something to me, I'll make sure you remember it, and just for next time in case, you think twice maybe about saying it to some lady that wouldn't stick up for herself. So
for sure. And I said I was going to ask you is like, how have you, I mean, you explained, I guess, how you've sort of overcome that and, you do stand up for yourself. For those who may find it difficult, women out there who may be listening, what sort of advice could you give them if that's something that they experience?
I mean, try not to just take it lightly. I think if people really are getting on you and they're saying stuff too much, call the floor. That's the floor's job to stick up for you. And I've seen it a lot of times, sometimes where the floor doesn't at certain casinos too. Like my friend Sarah had an incident on Twitter where she was being berated at the Flamingo and the floor didn't really do much. I think like they corrected that. They made an apology or something, but still we shouldn't have to sit there as anybody and just be berated and be shouted at. So if you can speak up for yourself, if you can't, put your headphones in and just think like, I always think to myself, FTG, I always say is something I say, FTG, just like in my head, just like, fuck that guy, like it doesn't really matter. Like he's just some guy that's unhappy with himself. So, but yeah, and I don't want to put it out there. It's not like I don't see this all the time. Most people are very nice. People are friendly these days. I see a lot more kinder souls at the table, people having a really good time, people saying really nice things, but yeah, it does break my heart when ladies come up to me and ask me that kind of thing, which happened to me at Bally's the other day.
Yeah, it's important, like, again, like that's why I bring it up here, because it's not, unfortunately, not yet an uncommon thing, and it's important to hear and learn from those sort of experiences. And I'm a WPA purple tie guy. I'm very happy to support that kind of stuff. And I would even add, and I'm happy you did so. You said, you're speaking up, for the person who doesn't necessarily. If you're at the table, folks, ladies or men, if you're at the table and you see that happening, you should speak. Some people say, well, I don't need you to speak up for me. That's fine. But if you do find someone who is, encountering, abuse, for lack of a better word, that it's just really undeserved, as far as like a hand they played or whatever it is. Yeah, if they're not going to speak up for themselves, then you should say, hey, that's not cool. And you go ahead and call the floor, on behalf of that person as well. Because as you said, very well, it is the floor's job Kyna, I did mention a couple times, you've done a lot of interviews. You have gotten a lot of attention, after your win. I think it's wonderful for you. What's that experience been like for you? Kind of like an author doing a book tour, I guess.
I mean, some of the times it just feels like me talking about myself a lot, and the same questions. If people, hey, but if you guys want to hear about it, I love to talk. So it's been fun, but it just reminds me too about back on our last topic, just real quick. My biggest blow up at a gentleman at the table happened actually a few years ago. And if you want to hear that story, and it was because I stood up for another lady, like this guy was berating another lady at the table. And if you want to hear that story, you should listen to Jared Smith's podcast, Grindhouse Podcast. I told it on there, and it's quite the story, lots of F-bombs, so I don't want to tell it on here, but that was a really fun one to do because I'm friends with Jared, and he, it was a great time. They just tells poker stories, just telling silly poker stories and stuff, and we all have them. So yeah, and then just doing different ones. I talked to Bernard Lee, that was really great. Obviously Chad on Holloway from Poker News. I'm kind of good friends with him since we're both from the Midwest,
Sure.
But
got
yeah,
that
it has been fun.
stuff.
Wisconsin. It's been fun, meeting new people too, and talking to new people and sharing experiences. And then when I'm in the wild and I see people, it's fun to have another conversation or a drink or something. So, and I'm a very people person anyway. So this kind of stuff, if I sound stupid, well, oopsie, but this is just how I am regular too.
Well, hashtag confirmed, because I'm certainly enjoying this conversation as well. Hopefully not asking the same exact questions that you've been being asked before. So trying to, spice it up a little bit. And I will say just about, like the F-bombs, you say, you know what? It's a very versatile part of speech. It can act as a verb, as a noun. It's a good thing. Every once in a while, it's warranted. But I appreciate that comment. We talked about Poker Power. Of course, you are an instructor there. For those who haven't necessarily heard of the organization, I mean, how is it possible? But, maybe there are people out there who haven't heard of it. What does the organization do?
So we are on a mission to teach 1 million women poker. So it's instructional. It's 12 lessons. The first 4 are free. So you just go and you can sign up. It starts very basic, but we had a lot of intermediate players kind of come on because you don't know what you don't know, right? So if it's free, check it out. And if you're interested, you can take the first 4 free. And then I think we're charging a little, just small, for the next 8. And they, range in different topics we build on. And not only is it poker lessons, but it relates back to real world situations, to business world situations, things that would help you be better in real life, doing things like making decisions, strategic, strategy, logical thinking, being decisive, relationship building. It relates each topic to one of those kind of life lessons. And so I like it a lot. And we have some fun examples too. And when I teach classes, I like to, give my experiences too, or talk through my thought process on a hand. We do go over examples and stuff. And there's a lot of great teachers now. We have about 20 instructors now. We just started off with 4 or 5 of us from the Midwest, and now there's about 20, and we have some great ambassadors too out there repping us and promoting it. So yeah, if you're interested in just sharpening up your game, it is free, like I said. So check it out, and see if you like it, and yeah, let us know too. Join our community too on Facebook.
Free, I'll take 2. I love it. It's great. How did the opportunity come up to join them, and what is it about that opportunity when you were presented with it that made you go, yeah, I'd like to do that?
Yeah, I had met Sarah Steffen in the poker world a little bit. We, just as females running into each other, we had a couple of mutual friends. So we ended up, after tournaments, having drinks together a couple of times. And she reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in this. And so I said, sure. And I had met AJ Rudolph too, who also works for them. They were kind of the original teachers. And initially they were doing stuff live, but then, through quarantine, it turned out to be Zoom lessons. And that actually worked out really great. I taught 3 or 4 clubs each week from my, room, my computer. And, and yeah, so that's kind of how I fell into it. And so I've been doing it since probably about April or May of 2020. So about 2 years now.
Yeah. And what is
I
it?
still teach. I do. Oh, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say I still teach. I teach Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific. So that's the class that I'm currently teaching. And yeah, I still enjoy it. It just keeps me fresh. So I have tomorrow off to teach one, smaller classes now. And again, you have to run through the lessons. There's 12 of them. So, but yeah, I think I kind of learn each time I teach one too. People ask me questions, and it's interesting to think through, well, like what, why do you ask that? What are you thinking? What would you do differently? So still keeps me on my toes.
What's your favorite thing about being a poker power instructor?
My favorite thing, I think when people, this is me, being a little full of myself, but like seeing people that I've taught do really well, and
Nice.
the other day, a girl I've been teaching, I saw her at the ladies event, and she just had a lot of chips, and I was like, nice, like it's just like, oh, okay, like she's been in my class a few times, and like now she's got a pile of chips over there, like that just makes me feel good. And we taught one girl who like went and decided to play her first poker tournament. It was like a flamingo $80 tournament, and she won the whole thing. It was her first one. I was like, just so hearing the success stories from people that have taken my class, I think is the most rewarding part.
Awesome. And it's a little bit of an old school reference, but once upon a time, students used to bring an apple to the teacher if they liked them.
Yeah.
When their students do achieve success, do they ever like throw you a 0.5% or something like that?
Yeah. Well, if any of you out there that I've taught win a bracelet, you don't forget me. Okay.
There you go. I like it. What do you think? Again, like poker power. Again, like I said, it's kind of hard to believe someone hasn't heard of it. But that being the case, obviously the word has gotten out, and I don't know how far along you guys are towards the 1 million women goal, but certainly, quite a few women have been, jumping in, as you said, and the organization has certainly grown. What do you think makes it successful as far as its approach? Because quite frankly, it's relatively new on the scene as an organization, and, making those waves and growing pretty quickly. What's the secret sauce, do you think, of Poker Power, why it's working?
Well, I mean, all of our instructors have, been asked to go out and promote and stuff and play, sponsor a little bit, wear the merchandise. So like a few times, me or Sarah or AJ were wearing our patch, or wearing our sweatshirt. I know Chuan wore her patch on High Stakes Poker when she was on there, which was awesome. Melanie wears her patch when she goes plays big tournaments and stuff. So I think just getting us out there a little bit more, talking about it and representing it. And then also in Chicago, and I think a few other places, there have been some major events that Poker Power has either sponsored or hosted or partnered with corporations to host bigger events for women, just teaching them poker. And so making it more of a party, which is fun. So it gets women a little more interested. They go to this event, they have a great time. Maybe they sign up and want to take more classes. And then just we partner with WPA too a little bit. We promote them, they promote us. We did some specific WPA classes to different levels and stuff. So yeah, just I think all of those things have just, boosted popularity. Obviously, I think mostly having us out there repping, and having people ask us at the table, well, what's that? Or having somebody be like, oh, I saw another girl with that patch on, I think that's gotten the word out a little bit more too.
For sure. And you mentioned the WPA. Those who don't know, that's, of course, the Women's Poker Association, founded by the great Lupe Soto. She was episode number 50 here on the Cards Chat. But look, you gotta get people, got to keep them retained. If you don't have enough after 83 episodes, or if you missed one, you can go ahead and check that out as well. Just another couple questions from me, kind of before we move on to the community questions portion, because I know a bunch of Cards Chat members wanted to ask you some stuff. What are your plans? And you mentioned Wsop is coming. Besides hiding indoors from the 110-degree heat, do you sort of have a schedule worked out for yourself, what you're going to be playing and how often?
For now, I'm going. I'm going back to Chicago on Friday to just see some family. I haven't been back since December, and then I'm going to drive to some of the Midwest stops. There, MSPT in Cleveland, which is a new location. I've never been there, so you know me. I like to go places that I've never been and meet new people and check out new casinos.
Jack, right?
Yeah, Cleveland Jack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then the following week is the biggest one that we're all excited for, is the Battle Creek stop. And that has been the biggest Midwest stop forever. It's a 1 million guarantee in the Midwest, and it hasn't happened in a few years now. So I can't miss that one. So those are my two next big travel stops, and then I'll come back, and I haven't put my schedule together yet for WSOP. I'm not sure what I know I'm going to play the ladies event. I know I'm going to play the tag team event with Sarah, and I'm most likely going to play the main. So, but I, want to look and see what else cool is out there. That $1 million mystery bounty looks pretty crazy. But yeah, just like sitting down and really mapping that out a little bit better. I'll probably do that while I'm home in Chicago anyway. So, and nice. Some of the other locations that are having great events too, the Win Series, just even the smaller ones, the Orleans Series, Venetian Series, just checking out what's going on while the WSOP is happening too. Those other events can get pretty juicy too.
Right. Well, I mean, you mentioned, your primary motivator for, what makes you hop into a tournament. You want to have fun, you want to enjoy yourself, and of course that intellectual challenge. But the WSOP is something special. It comes around, once a year. So what are your goals, or do you set any goals beyond just obviously enjoying yourself when mapping out, I'm going to be playing in this event? What are your sort of hopes going into the WSOP?
Well, I am looking for jewelry this year.
Yep.
So that's a big goal. Obviously, I think that's everybody's goal, but yeah, I think maybe just running deep to making a final table of some sort would be really, really cool, especially the ladies event. I don't know. That was like always a dream of mine back in college when I was learning poker. I was like, one day I'm going to go to the World Series of Poker and play the $1,000 ladies event. And that was like a big deal for me back then, and now it's like, oh, okay, I guess I'll play the ladies event. And it's still exciting. Like I got knocked out super early and I was really disappointed, of that last year. So this year we're going to make it at least to day 2 and give it a go. So, and just being back there, seeing the new venue, let's see what happens. Like, I'm sure there'll be some kinks that need to be worked out, but change is inevitable, right? And so hopefully they can, pull it off, and we all have a good time, and we all win some money, and it's successful, and they do it again next year.
Sounds good. Sounds like you're going to have certainly a really fun time, and I wish you good luck with those goals. It would be really cool. Next time around, I'll say WSOP bracelet winner, Kyna England. So that would be pretty cool. Well, folks, in this segment of the show, we turn to you guys, our Cards Chat community, to see what questions you wanted to ask our guests. We do have a dedicated thread on the Cards Chat forums for this. So as we announce who our future guests will be, please be sure to send in your questions. And the first question comes from Chica Bonita. Thank you very much for sending these in. Kyna, Chica Bonita wants to know, all of your tournament results are in Texas Hold'em. I'll just interject. You had mentioned you played in the home games and in the mix, and I see you do play other ones. So why only Texas Hold'em tournaments? Any other tournaments that you've ever wanted to hop into?
I mean, I have played a couple smaller ones here and there. In Austin, I actually played my first PLO tournament, and I was like, "What is this?" Like, it's just,
too many cards.
I asked my buddy, I'm like, "What should I do?" And he's like, "Maybe limp more than you usually would." I'm like, "Okay."
Limp and pray. That's the strategy, right?
So I do like PLO. I'm learning that a little bit more, but I don't know. I like Texas Hold'em. It's just very mathematically easy, and yeah, I mean, I'll branch out, I guess, eventually. I like to play stud games. I really do. I think they're fun, but I played a tournament the other day at the Orleans, and it was too slow. Like, literally, like, I was just like, come on, turn your cards over, just not patient enough. It's like what we talked about before, the patience thing, and I don't want to ruin anyone else's time. So probably should just stick to what I know for now. But if people are asking, I guess I could step up and try a few of them, maybe try something during the series.
Well, I remember walking into the Orleans playing in a stud game myself, and I'm 40, and I remember bringing the average age down by a good couple of decades. Not, it's important. Everyone should play until 80s, 90s. It's important, but I understand what you're talking about the pace of stud. So it's an acquired taste. I love the stud though, so it's good. Next question from Chica Bonita. This is interesting. I didn't realize this. So great research, Chica Bonita. Poker Power has a separate sort of high school lessons program for teenagers, 13 and above. Chica Bonita wants to know, why so young when the legal age for real money poker is usually 18 at minimum?
So the whole company came about because the owner, Jenny Just, it's actually it's a good story, and she could probably tell it way better than I can, but I'll give you the cliff notes. Is her daughter came back from a tennis match and was just like angry about like hitting the ball in certain spots, and then her opponent would always return it. And her husband was like, "You're not thinking about what your opponent does. You're not thinking strategic enough. You need to learn poker. That will help." And so she had this idea. She's like, "Okay, let's teach young girls poker." And that's actually how the whole thing started. Is my first few clubs were teaching high school kids, like from all around the country too. I had a group in Maryland, had a group like Abby comes from, like, I think it was in Wake Forest, from North Carolina or something. So we had different groups all over. And yeah, it was different though, like, keeping the attention span and everything. Like, we just teach them straightforward. We played really fun games. We did not talk about gambling money at all. So it was straight like strategy and just teaching them the game and letting them play for, the competitive side of it. And they did, some of them got really good, some of them got really into it, and you'd see certain girls winning more than other girls. So that was really cool. Yeah. And we didn't, like I said, we still don't really push the gambling aspect. We talk about, we ease you in what makes you feel comfortable. This is what would happen if you did go to a casino and play. But we offer like the free alternatives, and then like make sure we're marketing the charity games and the WPA games and all that stuff that you can play and not necessarily gamble a whole bunch of money.
Well, great question. Great question, Chica Bonita, and very pure. I love that. It's a fantastic answer. It's really cool. No, it's like, it's not just, you were trained to say that, but it's very pure. I really like it. And, I've got a teenage daughter, and like, I always know, like, I've been, doing this poker media thing for many years. Like, there's so many life applications, as far as like the poker skills that you acquire at the table, outside the table. So well pointed out, and great answer. Great attitude of the Poker Power organization. And last question from Chica Bonita wants to know, Kyna, do you read poker books? Is there a favorite author or book, or any books that you could recommend?
I read a few. I like articles. I like, surprisingly, like all those like upswing articles that come out. I'll read those a lot. I think my favorite book, though, again, back to like the mental game aspect, was that mental game book by, I think it's Jared Tendler. That was my favorite. And I like how he didn't just talk about poker in it, and talked about other life aspects. He talked about golf a little bit in it too. And that really helped me. I probably should go back and read it again, because, I think we all just need a reminder sometimes. So I will have to say that was definitely my very favorite one. But yeah, I am now trying to read some more books. I liked Annie Duke's book, Thinking in Bets. It was a good one. But yeah.
And speaking of going back, you mentioned Jared Tendler, so I will too. He was episode number 35 here on the Cards Chat.
Or how do you remember the numbers? Is what I keep laughing at.
All right here. No, yes, I do have. Yes, that's why you have my secrets, Kyna. I have it open in a separate Excel document just in case someone name drops. But yeah, it's good. It's good to keep that list. And quite frankly, again, we've been very fortunate to have a number of wonderful people here on the CardsChat podcast. So, and not everyone's always aware. Sometimes someone becomes a fan only around episode 82. And like, we got some really cool people. And just as you said, I've read the book, also Mental Game of Poker, fantastic book, and chance to hear straight from Jared in episode number 35. Next question asker is Acid Burn FX, one of our most creative contributors. I love the questions Acid Burn FX comes up with. Here's a fun one, Kyna. I hope you're ready. If you could implant one false memory in the minds of everyone, what would that memory be and why?
Oh man, about myself or just like in general?
Take the question however you'd like.
Oh man, I don't even know how to answer that. A false memory. I would have to say something that like errs on the side of kindness, like just maybe like people remembering somebody that was really kind to them in a moment of need, or like maybe even like the opposite, like remembering somebody that wasn't kind to them. I just think we're in such a society where people just jump to troll so quick and don't really think about how it might affect other people. So something on that line, or, just maybe it's just something when somebody decides to be like super nasty, like pops in and they're like, it's like, be a little nicer this time. It's asking too much though from society.
That's what I like so much about the Acid Burns question. I mentioned that, every time they contribute some questions, I love the creativity of them, because that's, like it kind of unearths some really cool answers. And that was a great answer. It's instructive as to the way your mind works and the way you think. So good one. And here's another one we'll throw at you, Kyna, from Acid Burn FX. If you could be a fly on the wall of any access restricted place, what would that place be and why?
Oh man, I'm always intrigued by the things that like scare me the most, which are like space and the ocean. So maybe some sort of fly on the wall in conversations like, are there actually aliens that have been discovered somewhere, just like I don't know, that kind of thing, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. These
Why
are
does the
strange
ocean scare
questions.
you?
I need more time to think about it. Why do oceans scare me? Oh
Yeah.
man, I just like love all that deep sea stuff. That's like, what could be down there? They haven't even discovered most of it. Nobody's even been there. And then when they make all those crazy movies, like, deep sea diving and everything. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Then people just get stuck in submarines at the bottom of the sea. Like, it's scary. I still love to watch it though. And like little YouTube shorts on, like, look at this gigantic creature that we found.
Yeah.
Like a
Okay, cool. Interesting. And last one from Acid Burn FX. Kind of, what's the worst gift you've ever received?
The worst gift.
Don't have to out who gave it to you.
Well, I can't even really think of. I'm like looking around my apartment like there was something. I don't know. My mom one time bought me an Apple Watch after I had showed her my new Apple Watch that I already bought, and was like, "I got an Apple Watch, Mom," and then she still forgot and bought me one. I guess that might have been the worst gift.
Had a little bit of a technical glitch just there, but during the technical glitch, I think you said you thought of an even better worst gift you've received, kind of.
Yeah, so in a white elephant, or was a white elephant, was like a work gift exchange I got one time. It was like a pyramid, like with a coworker just pasted his face on every single side of it. And I was like, "What is this?" He's like, "It's for your desk." I'm like, "A pyramid with pictures of you pasted on it? Okay, thank you."
That does sound like a bit of an odd gift, a pyramid scheme, if you will. But yeah, I know,
Yeah.
dad humor. I got to. My kids would be proud. Crystals, thank you very much as our last question submitter for today's show. Kind of Crystals wants to know, it's an interesting one. You're very active on social media, Twitter in particular. How important, in your opinion, is it for poker players to be engaged with the public?
I don't think it's super important. I think it's just like, maybe it's just my introvert extrovert kind of ideas. I like to encourage people when somebody says something clever too. I'll like it. I think it's nice to throw that their way, or like if somebody posts a win, I'm trying to be supportive, like, good job, that's awesome. Or somebody poses an interesting question. That's what it's out there for, and again, I'm like, I like the positivity movement that we're doing, and I try not to like be too negative. Sometimes I'll catch myself like commenting on something political and I'll be like, no, and I'll go back and delete it, just because I don't really need to put that out there. I mean, I might have an opinion and that's great, but I feel like if it's being negative or taking away from the discussion a little bit, I don't want to put that out there myself either. And I try and be a little funny. If I think it's funny, it's funny. So
I like it. Very cool. A good attitude as well. I like that as well. And nothing bad could come from an attitude like that. Just two more before we wrap up the show. Crystals wants to know, kind of, if you could have one poker wish come true for 2022, what would it be?
Poker wish, just one?
Yes. You've got just one lifeline here.
Oh, wait, I'm gonna make it two though. Like, I think like the one wish that we like all have is like, I want to win a bracelet. I would love to win a
Okay,
bracelet.
that's fair.
I
That's
think
a
that's a
gimme.
great
All
wish.
right.
But I think like on the non-winning, non-monetary side, I have interacted a few times with Maria Ho. She's my favorite. And Jennifer Tilley, I've never met, but like I would love to play with either of those ladies at the table. They're ladies that I've always looked up to in playing poker. They always are extremely confident and sure of themselves when they play. And I think that's totally something I respect in a poker player, especially a female poker player. So I would love to have the opportunity to play with both of them.
That's awesome. You hear that, ladies? Maria, Jennifer, if you're listening, Kyna wants to play with you. We haven't yet. Hopefully, maybe someday that'd be pretty cool if we could have Jennifer Tilley on. But we have had Maria Ho on the show. That she was episode number 22. There you go. That's layups. Set and spike. Maria was episode number 22. That's a great listen. You can listen to her also if you haven't yet, Kyna.
Definitely.
Last question for you, just to wrap it up. Crystal says the number of women playing poker is growing, but still has a long way to go to get to 50-50 with the guys. What baby step would you like to see happen to get even more women into the game?
Um, I think just like a more like an open and inclusive environment. Again, just people being, nice or friendly, or maybe at the table. I don't even know that that makes a difference. I think just maybe awareness, even like more women knowing about the game and knowing that they can play. I think that's sort of what we're trying to do through Poker Power. I guess we don't have to change other people's mindset. We have to change women's mindset on this is something you can also do if you want to, if you don't want to. And when I teach lessons too, I say it's not for everybody. It might not be for you, but if you want it to be for you and you like it, you can certainly do this too. So just, I guess, breaking down that barrier of people that don't think that they can, making sure that they know that they can if they want to.
That's a great wish. The statistics say I think women make up, 5 to 8, maybe 5 to 10% of the fields. I know it's not 50-50, but, I've looked back and I'm very proud that, through 80, this is the 83rd episode, we're averaging about 25%. Women interviewees here on the CardsChat podcast. So trying to do our part as well. And like you said, boost that awareness. Folks, thank you very much for sending in your questions to Kyna England. And again, just a friendly reminder to all of you out there in our CardsChat community. We'd love to see you submit your questions for our future podcasts in the dedicated thread on the forums. Guys, please be sure to give us a good review on iTunes. Spread the word via your social media channels if you like the show. Kyna, before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like to tell our audience?
Thank you for the questions. They were great questions. I enjoyed talking to everybody. For everybody that listens, thank you for listening. Feel free to come up and say hi in the wild if you ever see me. But yeah, I look forward to seeing everybody at the series, and have a good year. Good luck on the felt, everyone.
Awesome. And we're talking once again with future WSOP bracelet winner, Kyna England. Thank you all for tuning in once again to another episode of CardsChat. I'm Robbie Strazynski. You can follow me on Twitter at CardPlayerLife. I wish you all a wonderful day.